So I just came home from Thor Ragnarok, and holy fucking shit. Wow. If you don't watch my videos, then, and you're just here because Thor Ragnarok is in the title, just so you know, I am not a very collected person, and my reviews are not very collected as videos. Anytime I talk about something or review something, it's a bit of a mess. So if you're here for that, then you're here for that. Also, I'm going to say spoiler warning. I don't know how much spoilers I'm gonna have, but just in case, spoilers. But holy shit. One of the huge things that I had a problem with in the first two Thor movies was that they took themselves way too seriously. There would be moments of levity and humor and comedy, but they never fit the tone of the movie. Whereas this movie, holy shit, it takes a completely different tone. It kind of says about the first two movies, like, remember that? This is all you need to know, now you can forget about them. It builds on what is already there, on what is a very shitty foundation, and manages to build a fantastic house. And I loved the aesthetics of it, the retrofuturism, the colours, the geometrics, the simplistic futurism, kind of steampunk, none of those words are correct for what I'm trying to describe, but kind of the fusion of all of those different ideas with the colours, the palette, with the cinematography and the set and effects and the acting and the direction and the visuals. Like, this movie floored me. It's been a while since a Marvel movie has really piqued my interest. I've been watching Marvel for 3, nearly 4 years, and this was one of the few movies that, like, one of the first in a while, to be fair, first one in a while that I walked out of the cinema smiling, grinning my face off. The last time I did that was with Guardians of the Galaxy, which was the first movie I ever went to see after getting into Marvel. There were definitely moments where you could tell this was very heavily influenced by Guardians of the Galaxy, but that doesn't take away from the movie. That definitely adds to it, that it's taking advantage of something that the studio knows works, but completely giving it a new spin. And as Thor as a character, I've had a lot of gripes with over the years. There's a huge kind of idea in fan fiction, which I am an avid reader, that Thor is kind of this very dim-witted, humble person. And that's another problem I had with the movies, is that Thor would go from extremely childish to very buffoonish to incredibly arrogant to incredibly wise, unbelievably wise, unfoundly wise. And there wasn't enough character transition for any of those to be justifiable. And that's what I loved about this movie. I'm pointing as if the movie's over there, but let's pretend it is. This movie managed to balance Thor's arrogance, his seriousness, his cleverness, and his humour. Because Thor as a character, his story has always been about becoming humble. And something that I didn't like about Thor the Dark World was that he was very suddenly humbled by returning to Asgard. It's like he's a different person there. But when they moved between places in this movie, it felt like his personality was the same. It was just different aspects of the personality coming forward rather than him changing as a person. Loki as a character, I have had a very turbulent relationship with Loki. I hated him, I loved him, I was part of the Hiddlestoner craze, whatever the fuck the fans are called, and then I started resenting him, and then all of these different things. But the least I can say is that Tom Hiddleston is a fantastic actor. He is very poised, he's very clever. He plays Loki so well. He gets that trickster element of Loki absolutely perfect. But he also has his moments of, like, when Loki is afraid, you can tell that Loki is afraid. When Loki is sorry, when Loki is lying, when Loki is being a shit. Things might not even change with how how he speaks or whatever, but his body language, his facial expression, he has such a incredible mastery, incredible control over his body and his expression, which I really, really think influenced this movie. Can I just say Mark Ruffalo? Fuck. For someone who was a very large portion of this movie is the big green guy, they managed to make that character so interesting, because the thing about Hulk is, yeah, he's interesting in an objective way, but as a person, as a personality within Banner, the Hulk was incredibly interesting, and his relationship with Thor was incredibly interesting, and how they relate to each other as two Avengers who aren't really the most prominent it was so interesting. They didn't make it like, oh, we're a team, we need to do this, and they were both understandably freaked out by the fact that they were on this alternate planet that they weren't expecting to be on. Also, I just wanted to add something in. It's not specific to Thor Ragnarok, but I tweeted about it and I want to talk about it a little bit. Of course, a lot of people who are fans of Marvel movies know that you stay to the end of the credits to see the post-credit scenes, both of which were wonderful, and I felt like the first one really, really set up for Infinity War, and just the fact that all of Asgard is on that ship really broke my heart, but kind of the levity in those moments was beautiful. But that post-credit scene where Thor and Loki are like in front of Thanos' ship, perfect setup. Like I was wondering, like, how did this set up for Infinity War? I mean, yeah, sure, they're in space and maybe that's the point, but I got to that part and I was like, okay, that is the best way they could have set it up, and I'm really happy about that. But I want to talk very briefly about I don't go to the cinema a hell of a lot anymore. I'm 6th year, I'm a bit frugal, I'd rather watch it online. So whenever I go to the cinema, I always try and make a point of it to stay to the end of the credits, because as someone who loves working behind the camera, sure, I am my face of my YouTube channel, but I love the behind the scenes of photography and filmmaking and post-production and everything, and I'd love to go into that if I don't end up in art. I always try to stay to the end of the credits, because so many people work on the movies that don't get the proper recognition that they deserve, and as someone who loves being behind the camera as well as in front of it, I try and stay for them, because they don't get thanked enough. And I would like to urge everybody to stay and try and learn some names and figure out, hey, this person has worked on all of these other movies that I like. So that's a small takeaway, a small request, homework, if you will. I think that's everything that I really wanted to say. But I would say go see Thor Ragnarok. It is phenomenal. I remember after Captain America Civil War came out, I was very apprehensive to see this movie, or to think about this movie, because Thor, obviously, like I've said, is not the best trilogy in the franchise, but also after Civil War and a certain amount of disappointment that I had over my favourite characters not being done justice, I was worried that this movie with the characters that weren't exactly my favourites would just bomb, but this movie pulled it out of the gutter. Marvel movies are back on track, and I am very happy about it, because I've been watching Marvel for nearly 4 years. I literally have a pair of Marvel pajamas. Oh, it's literally my man Thor. But yeah, this Marvel is important to me, and I'm glad that I'm satisfied by the movie, because I was worried that I wouldn't be. But bottom line, go see Thor Ragnarok, because it is also kind of a movie that you want to see on the big screen, because it's just so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it here. Hopefully I will see you soon. We have a fantastic week, and goodbye.